Good morning and welcome to day one of Politico's AI and Tech Summit. My name is Laurens Cerullis. I'm Politico's cybersecurity editor and deputy tech editor, and I have the privilege to welcome you here to our summit, where we'll be discussing topics ranging from artificial intelligence to cloud to platforms and more. We host an AI and Tech Summit every year, but from everyone's conversations in the corridors leading up to this summit, it's become abundantly clear that this year is different. We're in the first year of a new European leadership with a new Commission and a Parliament at the EU level, and a new political power balance taking shape across the continent. Over on the other side of the Atlantic, you may have heard that we've just passed the first 100 days of a second Trump administration, which has shocked the world and is keeping everyone on their toes. This new political and geopolitical setting is putting a massive pressure on the technology sector. It is forcing governments and tech companies alike to review their policies. In Brussels, where EU tech policy is made, these shocks have done something else. It has led to Europe questioning its playbook to deal with technology. For years, Brussels saw itself as the world's policeman on technology. And now, the new European Commission is trying to downsize some of the tech regulations it passed just recently. It is spreading a new gospel, seeking to draw technology to Europe and prioritizing homegrown technology too. It is reconfiguring how it works with partner countries and reconsidering its critical alliance with the US on technology. What better time to gather the smartest minds to discuss where to go next? And that's what we plan to do in the coming 36 hours. We have lined up a series of interviews with top-notch policymakers and industry leaders and voices. We have Amandeep Singh Gill, the United Nations Envoy on Technology, who will be joining us later today. We have Joshua Bengio, a pioneer of AI technology and thinking. We have Ekaterina Zarayeva, EU Commissioner for Startups, Research and Innovation, and many, many more distinguished speakers. Before we kick off, I'd like to thank our partners for making this summit possible. Our leading partners are Accenture and Amazon. Our presenting partners are Google, MasterCard, Meta, Microsoft, Energy Utility Group PPC, Visa, and Zalando. And our visibility partner is the Klingendahl Institute. Much like EU tech regulation itself, we also have some rules here at Politico's AI and Tech Summit. Some of those rules are binding, some are non-binding, all are punishable at a 6% of global annual turnover. No, that's not right. We love a good debate, that's the first rule. We love a good debate here on stage, in these halls, and also online. And so we want to encourage you to share your thoughts with us on platforms like X, Blue Sky, LinkedIn, and others. Please use our hashtag PoliticoAITech. Some sessions will only include a Q&A audience for the people here in the room. And so those sessions are indicated on our program, and our moderators will let you know when Q&As take place. For those in the room Q&As, we've got a roving mic that will be provided. As a general rule, we ask you to raise snappy questions, to avoid statements, to indicate who you are and which organization you're represented. We also want to have you engage in a conversation with an open mind and engage with other people in the conversation openly and respectfully. To ask you questions for other sessions, you can also use slido.com. Go to slido.com and insert the hashtag PoliticoAITech, or you can scan the QR code that is displayed here on our screens. All of these instructions are also on our events website if you want to revisit them. During our networking breaks, our reporters and journalists and the Politico Pro staff is here with us in the room. And in the halls. You can explore partners' installations and booths as well, and you can meet your fellow attendees. To kick off our AI and Tech Summit this year, we wanted to do something a little bit different by bringing together journalists from across the Politico newsroom in Europe to Brussels to discuss how the different capitals are looking at tech regulation in this very moment. From the UK, we have Isobel Hamilton joining us. She is our UK technology editor based in London, and she works with a team of reporters that covers tech policy across Whitehall, Westminster, and the UK in general. From Paris, we have Océane Herrero, who's joining us. She's a tech reporter based in Paris and covering closely how the French government engages with tech. And from Brussels, we have Pieter Haeck, our senior technology reporter based here, who will be guiding this conversation. I want to thank you for joining us in this room, online, and I want to ask you to have fun and to have a great 36 hours of discussing tech policy. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone in the audience and online. Normally, we have prime ministers and heads of state coming to Brussels, but now we have a new tradition, Politico tech reporters coming to Brussels out of Paris and London. Welcome. Let's maybe start with you, Océane. You're based in Paris, and the last time I've seen you in real life was at the Paris AI Action Summit, this global gathering in early February, where French President Macron wanted to show the world that France could do AI and could regulate AI. To my sense, I was there, you were there. The summit was a bit of a change in the global discourse around AI, because before the summit, it was really about managing the risk, how are we going to keep AI safe? And then at the summit, suddenly everyone was speaking about winning the AI race, making sure that we have European AI champions. How did you experience that, and how do you see that discourse and that discussion evolving in the next few months?
Yeah, France took over like the UK summit with a very different vision. The UK edition was around safety, and France decided to bring the conversation on action. And most importantly, France wants this action to take place in France. So they use this occasion to also attract investments. So we see that France wanted to position itself and position Europe into this global competition, which has been reinforced as we've seen GD Vance's first speech in Europe before the Munich one, which was like kind of a new tone also in the conversation. So during the whole months of preparation of the summit, we felt that there was this shift in the conversation, and now it's going to be, I think, even more present as France wants to consolidate the investments and try to move forward to have its own AI champions, notably Mistral AI.
Yeah, so they're definitely doubling down after that summit to really consolidating the investments. Isobel, I want to bring you here in as well. We have, of course, like the Labour government in office now for a year almost. We've seen some changes in the AI field, AI policy field. In January, there was this AI Opportunities Action Plan presented by the Labour government. There was also this renaming of the AI Safety Institute into an AI Security Institute. Where is the UK in all of this? Is it also on the side of France or of the EU to really win the race? Or is it more still,
So there's been a similar shift insofar as the conversation has moved from safety to growth and innovation. And there's kind of two big elements to that. One is that the Labour government has decided to have this big pro-growth policy, kind of overarching industrial strategy, and it has decided that AI is going to be a big part of that. The other element for the UK is that since Trump came into power, we have been kind of drifting over and over towards the US, and that's where I think it's not so much in alignment with the EU. Like, I think they have their own reasons for wanting to try and, make more AI happen in the UK, but the way that they're doing that is sort of diverging from the EU a bit because they're getting split between the EU and Trump, but they are sort of leaning towards Trump at the moment.
Yeah. You're bringing in the elephant in the room right in there right away, Trump. We've seen, of course, like in the areas of defense, a bit of alignment between the EU and the UK. Would you say that technology is also a field where the EU and the UK could find each other in the context of Trump coming in, of course?
I think the UK is going to find it really difficult. In fact, there was a report that came out yesterday from a think tank which said that the UK is essentially trying to have its cake and eat it too in trying to stay friends with the EU on tech regulation and use tech to forge this partnership with Trump. I mean, specifically because so the UK recently got this, tariff carve out, and it's all to do with like commodities and steel and things like that. But I mean, we reported and we know that sort of things to do with tech regulation were part of the conversation. They didn't come out in that initial sort of tariff carve out, but the UK and the US have said that they're now discussing a much broader technology partnership, and that's going to be like an ongoing conversation. And things like our digital services tax are something the US is really keen to kind of kibosh. So I think the UK is going to find it really difficult trying to play both sides, because obviously in fact, we had this come up because we had an AI summit last week, and we had an audience member say, or ask a question that, the US leads in terms of the private sector, Brussels leads in terms of regulation. Where does the UK sit? And I think it's really doing the split at the moment.
So, and we have, of course, different hurdles now between Ursula von der Leyen and Keir Starmer. Is technology about to come up in those conversations, or is it rather something on the back seat?
Sorry, can you repeat the question? Between who and Starmer?
Ursula von der Leyen, the European Commission
yes.
President, and Keir Starmer, they're meeting occasionally. Is technology something that is on their minds when they meet, or?
I mean, I'm sure it will be on their minds. There is a summit next week between the UK and the EU, but technology specifically isn't on the agenda, but things like defense and security are, and you can't really talk about those things without talking about security. And I think that the EU is talking a bit more explicitly about things like procurement, with all these sort of American companies being so dominant. But it's something that's got to be on sort of every government's mind, especially when you have the kind of specific setup that we have now. So in the last Trump administration, we didn't have the CEOs of the tech companies trying to get quite so close to Trump. And now we have a handful that are trying really hard to get as close to him as they can. And I think that's bringing up lots of geopolitical worries kind of for everyone.
Océane, in Brussels there's a lot of talk about tech sovereignty, really making sure that Brussels can stand on its own legs, that it's reducing its reliance on US technology, US tech companies. France is really a driver of that conversation. Sovereign AI is something that is occasionally mentioned. We have the example of Mistral, one of the leading AI companies here in Europe. What is France's plan to make sure that this dream of sovereign AI, of a European AI, can succeed? What is the way to get there according to Paris?
Well, the way the French government wants to push its own ecosystem is by mostly public procurements, helping have more contracts with these companies. It's the case for Mistral, of course. They, for example, had a contract with the French Employment Agency. But also, we see that Emmanuel Macron also calls European companies for more patriotism. They want, European companies to also work with those startups and help them grow. So it's both a push on administrations and on the private sector to make more links with these companies and help them grow in the European soil.
Yeah. So if I could understand it correctly, there is a sort of bi-European tech push from Paris. More specifically, how can that be achieved? Is that something that they want to do in France themselves, or is this something that they want to take to Brussels and maybe tweak some EU regulations to get there?
It's definitely something they want to take to Brussels. They want to lift all the constraints on favoring European companies in the public procurements. So it's something that they want to do at a French level, but at some point they need to also get Brussels support and approval.
So Brussels, brace yourself, there is a bi-European tech call coming from Paris. Isobel, we have Mistral in France. We have, of course, the US companies, OpenAI, Anthropic, etc. Can you specify for this Brussels audience a bit like what is the UK's edge in AI? Where is it really doubling down on to make the difference or to stand out from this global race?
So we have a handful of companies that the government will kind of tout as their AI darlings. But the thing that kind of gets mentioned the most in the terms of the UK and how we might be able to sort of hold ourselves up as a big AI nation is talent, and it's to do with like our universities. And we've just seen the Labour government announce this big, broad immigration crackdown. However, they've made a little exception for AI sort of leaders and entrepreneurs. So they're trying to leave the door open for like those people that might come and set up an AI company in the UK. I think there are lots of people who would say that we need to be a bit more serious about funding kind of research entities and things if we're going to properly compete there. But that's what comes up the most, is kind of the talent.
Are these the researchers that are fleeing from the US because of the Trump cuts? Is that something that the UK is like, okay, let's make sure that these researchers are coming to us?
So the UK government has been far less explicit about that than the EU has, but it's come up a lot in recent weeks, especially in like select committees and the House of Lords. There are people who are writing to our, our Prime Minister and our like top ministers saying we need to be like sending up smoke signals and getting these people to come here because they think, well, but frankly, there's a lot of competition for those researchers that might have been, spooked by America, or just had their funding slashed. And we haven't seen. Again, it's difficult for the UK government because they really want to keep Trump happy. So if they come out and explicitly say, "Yeah, we want to poach all these Americans," then it's probably not going to land very well. But yeah, we're certainly seeing sort of pressure on government to act there.
France was much less explicit about getting the US researchers to Europe. They had this big Choose Europe for Science event. That's not a smoke signal, that's a big fire to say, like, come over here, please. Is that something where France will go hard on the next few weeks and months to make sure that the talent is coming to Europe, the AI talent is coming to Europe?
Well, it's, yes, a big axis in Macron's political message to researchers, and he wants to attract researchers in strategic areas. So AI, of course, is one of them, quantum is another. So they want to also be able to pick kind of the type of people and talents that they want to attract. So it's going to stay a very strong message from the French government, of course.
But I assume you also need funding for that, because French researchers already have been saying, like, hello, we also want some attention and some funding from the government.
Exactly. There is like a kind of problem here with the funding that France actually puts on the table and the message that it gives to the world. So, yeah.
Yeah. Let's maybe also talk about regulation, because of course in Brussels that's the bread and butter of a lot of people here. Of course, big on everyone's mind is the AI Act, and of course like the rollout of the AI Act. That's now happening in the next 1.5 years. But also big in Brussels is the whole simplification debate. We want to trim some of the rules, roll back even some of the rules. Océane, again, with you, France has been saying from the start, like, this AI Act, it's very complex, it's a lot for our companies to digest. Will they now use the simplification debate to really crack down and say, like, okay, let's maybe reopen the AI Act?
Well, it's a debate that I think a lot of companies would like to see reopened. We've seen how hard it is to get people to get on board with the code of practice, and also French companies are into this debate, Mistral being one of them. So we see that, let's say, American companies are kind of leading the charge against the code of practice, but if they don't follow, like, the French ecosystem and European ecosystem doesn't have like much of a reason to follow the rules that don't apply to everyone.
So you think it's more about the secondary legislation, the AI code of practice for these most complex AI models that is a bit under attack? It's not the AI Act itself?
Well, I would say it's a kind of a first signal, but if the conversation reopens, it's still going to divide like the French ecosystem, because we have AI companies on one side, but also copyright holders on the other, and they want France to have a stronger stance on this. So it might also kind of divide the French government again on this.
might lead to a split. Interesting. Because we're running out of time, the global perspective. We've been talking already a lot about the US and the US role in the whole AI conversation and discussion. But the next AI summit is not in the US, it's in India. We've seen that some countries, or even the EU, some EU executives have been going to places like Japan, Singapore, India as well, to make sure that we're aligned with these types of countries. Is that something what the UK is also doing, like making sure that with the whole Trump uncertainty, the big question mark, that there is a good alignment with these countries?
So we have a parliamentary select committee that is launching an inquiry into science diplomacy, and I think that inquiry is going to look at like much more holistically how we deal with lots of different countries, not just America. But we're not getting loads of messaging out of the top level of government, to be honest. We've got a new trade deal with India, and they had a couple of mentions of techie things, but no, I wouldn't say it's like top of the agenda.
But it's maybe laying the groundwork for the next AI summit to make sure that there is also a good connection between the UK and India.
Perhaps, yeah.
Yeah, let's see. France, what is the global positioning there from France?
Well, India and Narendra Modi were co-chair of the French AI Action Summit, so we see that France has wanted to involve India quite early in the process, also to keep the vision for the Indian summit. So France really wants to this next summit to be around action and foster cooperation and not get back to the first main topic, which was safety. So yeah, there is this, France is trying to keep its influence on the next edition of the summit.
On the topic, yeah. All right, this was very insightful. I think I hope we can do it the next time, maybe in Paris, maybe in London, maybe in Berlin, maybe we're joined by other colleagues. Let's hope so. I asked the audience to remain seated because next up is a branded segment by Accenture. Accenture will come tell us why European industries must pursue AI-powered productivity. That's brought to us by Mauro Macchi, the EMEA CEO from Accenture. And after that, we will have a panel about the hottest topic in town, the balance between AI innovation and regulation. Océane and Isobel, thanks for now.